Hi, Janonius here. Today I'm going to explain one of the best movie of the past century called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Spoilers ahead, watch out. The movie is set during the early 1960s in the security ward of a state mental hospital and begins with the unit's morning routine maintained by head nurse Mildred Ratched, a cold, passive-aggressive tyrant who intimidates her patients. McMurphy, rebellious, resentful in attitude, arrives as a transfer from a prison work farm. He is accused of statutory rape of a 15-year-old girl. Although he claims the girl was 18. Because of his nature, they send him to this mental institution to evaluate if he were mentally ill or not. As soon as he arrives on the ward, McMurphy begins interfering with the routines established by Nurse Ratched. At a group therapy session, McMurphy suggests a change in the daily schedule to allow the inmates to watch the World Series on television. Nurse Ratched, after saying that a change in routine is inadvisable, suggests that a vote be taken, but almost all the patients in the therapy session vote against the proposed change. Afterward, when inmates Harding and Tabor get into a fight over a game of Monopoly, McMurphy sprays them with a hose and then announces that he is going to throw a water fountain through a window and escape to watch the World Series. He is unable to lift the water fountain, however, says to them that at least he tried. At the next group therapy session, after Nurse Ratched shames Billy Bibbit by asking him why he did not disclose to his mother that he had once fallen in love, Cheswick and McMurphy ask for a vote on watching the next game in the World Series. This time all the patients in the group vote in favor, but Nurse Ratched points out that those in therapy are only half of the inmates on the ward, and so the proposed change is denied. Later, in the yard, McMurphy climbs onto the shoulders of the gigantic and seemingly deaf and mute American Indian Chief Bromden, and then over the security fence to hide in a bus that is waiting to take inmates on a scheduled field trip. After the patients have boarded the bus, McMurphy drives it to a boat chartering service, but first stopping to pick up a very interesting friend, Candy, and then he takes them out fishing. After having fun, they return to the dock only to find several police officers and Dr. Spivey waiting for them. Back at the hospital, Dr. Spivey and other doctors agree that McMurphy is not mentally disturbed and should be returned to the prison. But Nurse Ratched persuades them that she can help him if he remains on the ward. After having learned from an orderly that he can be held in the hospital past the end of his sentence, McMurphy inquires at a group therapy session as to why no one told him that he could be kept in the hospital indefinitely. Nurse Ratched tells him that many of the inmates choose to remain in the hospital. By this time, other patients begin objecting to various restrictions. The session descends into chaos, and Cheswick, Chief Bromden, and McMurphy are sent to receive electroshock therapy. While they are waiting, Chief Bromden reveals to McMurphy that he is neither deaf nor mute but feigns the conditions in order to be left alone, and they make plans to escape together. The night of the planned escape, McMurphy's friends Candy and Rose arrive bearing liquor. McMurphy bribes the night watchman, Turkle, to let them onto the ward and awakens the inmates. A drunken revel ensues. Just before McMurphy decides to leave, Chief denied, but he starts to say goodbye to everyone. When saying goodbye to Bibbit, he realizes Bibbit likes Candy. McMurphy makes them to have sex, and waits before he leaves. But then he thinks something very deeply and falls asleep. The day shift, including Nurse Ratched, arrive the following morning to find the ward trashed, the inmates passed out on the floor, and Bibbit in bed with Candy. After Nurse Ratched shames Bibbit, and continuously threatens to tell his mother, he commits suicide. McMurphy, enraged, attacks Nurse Ratched and attempts to strangle her, but an orderly knocks him out. One night sometime later, Chief Bromden watches two orderlies return McMurphy to the ward and place him in his bed. Chief tells McMurphy that now is the time to escape. McMurphy does not respond, and Chief realizes that he has been rendered helpless by a lobotomy. Chief says that he will not leave McMurphy in that condition and, in an act of mercy, smothers him with a pillow. Chief Bromden then pulls up a water fountain, throws it through a window, and exits. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Please subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell icon. Like this video, it will help a lot. Thank you for watching.